Okay, right off the bat, I got to keep it real with you people. I have re-recorded the intro to this episode 8 trillion times, and this has to be it. I am clearly very rusty. I'm still remembering how to be a podcast host, how to record intros. So here we go. This is No Matter What. I'm teasing kind of, but if you're new here, this is No Matter What, and it is a podcast simply about being who God created you to be no matter what. How to walk faithfully with Jesus, how to serve him faithfully no matter what's going on in your life. I'm Hannah Seymour, and every week you'll hear a real conversation with real people who serve, who are tethered to, clinging to a real God. My number one desire is simply that this podcast encourages you and equips you to be who God created you to be, to do the work he is calling you to do. That's it. So I hope it does that for you. I hope you love it. Today's episode, y'all are seriously not ready for this episode. This is my new fast friend, Kelly Needham. This is what you need to know about Kelly if you don't know her yet. Number one, she is an author of Friendish and Purpose Fooled, which is the book that she and I talk about today. She's also been a contributing author to several other books. She leads a ministry called Teach Equip that trains female Bible teachers. She has been on staff at multiple churches. She's married to Jimmy Needham, who you might know as a CCM artist. He's a songwriter. He is a pastor at their local church. They have 5 kids together, and they co-host a podcast together called Clearly with Jimmy and Kelly Needham. But y'all, this conversation that she and I have, this book that she wrote, it's about 2 years old, and it came across my desk and I was floored. I wish I had written it. It wouldn't have been as good if I had. So I'm glad that God put it on Kelly's heart and she did it. But this book is really about how we all have in us this desire to do something with this one precious life that we have on this earth, and how that desire is biblical. It is God-given, but 9 times out of 10, maybe 99.999% of the time, we have let the world tell us to think about that differently than the Bible tells us. And so we talk about the anxiety and the worry that falls on people because we're so afraid we're going to miss it. We're going to miss God's purpose for our life. We're not going to do something that matters. We want to live a great life, and we find that we're just like changing diapers and balancing our budget and mowing the lawn. Like, how are we supposed to have an extraordinary life, which is what we want, with our ordinary days? And Kelly gives us a phenomenal biblical look at how to answer these questions. I'm telling you, you're going to love this episode. Got to trust me. And I will give you one spoiler alert that she said that I have repeated over and over to other friends and family. And this is what she said to me. She said, "You are not meant to be the hero of your personal narrative. You are not meant to be the hero." Who is the hero in our stories? It's God. God is the hero in our stories. We, and this is the part maybe that I love the most, we are the supporting character. And when I think about my life and when I wake up in the morning and how I try to live and the goals I have for long term, if I reframe it with I am simply a supporting character to the hero in my story, which is God, it changes everything for me. And that is truly what the rest of this conversation is. So please enjoy Kelly Needham. Kelly, I am so grateful to meet you via this crazy thing that we call the internet.
Yes.
And to have you on No Matter What. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks, Hannah.
I'm looking forward to getting to know you through our short conversation. So one of the things that I have kind of vowed in my life overall, not just as a podcaster, is I don't ever say, "Tell me about yourself," or even like with friends, I try not to say, "How are you?" unless they know I'm like, no, really, like, how are this
How are you
deep,
for real?
like, let's go. I can't do service conversations. And the "tell me about yourself" prompt just always gives me anxiety. So I figure if I don't like the prompt, probably most of the population doesn't love it. So in lieu of being like, "Tell us about who you are and introduce yourself to No Matter What" listeners, I just have some kind of random questions to get to know you.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So first, what is something that's totally ordinary in your life right now, but that's bringing you joy?
Ooh, organizing my rooms and closets. So
Yes.
we're currently moving our kids around. My girls are now officially both teenagers. So they moved upstairs into our upstairs guest room so that they can have their own shower toilet area away from our 3 boys.
That is a
Uh,
big deal.
yeah, so that's caused us, though, to have to go through the guest closet that's been the storage dumping
Uh-huh,
grounds for, like,
uh-huh.
10 years,
Yeah,
but it's been really we're on the satisfying end of it now where most of the hard work is done, and now I'm like, "Ooh, my spaces are getting more functional, more
yes.
fitting for the stage of life our family's at now." I mean, my girls moved out of the room they've been in since they were babies together, and
Wow.
so it's been a fun season, so that's what I've been doing in most of
That's
my spare
giving
moments is
I
moving
love
moving
that.
things around in the house and
I
hanging new
love that.
things on the wall, all that. So fun.
So you're a mom of 5, so your 2 oldest are girls, and then
Yes.
your younger 3 are boys? Okay, and then what's
Yes.
the age span?
Our oldest is 14 and our youngest is 2.
Oh
So
my
it's quite the big
gosh.
gap.
Just a dozen years.
You
Ain't
know, we
nothing.
did realize, oh, by the time my youngest is 18, my oldest will be 30. That's when we
Okay,
were like, maybe we should stop having children.
okay, that is wild. I do the
Isn't that
math a lot of
weird?
like, when our youngest is 18, I'm gonna be, "Oh gosh," like,
Right.
but I haven't but my kids are pretty close together, so anyway, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yes.
Okay, if you had a completely free day, nothing to do, no responsibilities, how would you spend it?
Mm. I would do a puzzle. I would
Oh,
be alone probably most of the day just because that's the
yeah.
season of life that I'm in. I
Uh-huh.
am an extrovert, but, the 5 kids thing. So I'd be alone, I'd probably do a puzzle, and I'd probably read 3 different books, probably 1 audio, and I'd probably just spend some time in a couple other ones and maybe go on a
Uh-huh.
walk.
Are you a fiction reader? Are you, like, a nonfiction girl?
Both. Give me
What's your
both.
vibe? What's your book
Nonfiction.
vibe?
I'm a pretty wide reader of books. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
like most things I'm in a book club where I'm like giving everything 4s and 5s. I'm like, I thought it was great. But good fiction reads are,
Uh-huh.
I think, I'm increasingly seeing that as important to me as a writer and just in my own
Mm,
formation to get good story and good fiction in my life.
yeah.
But I love reading widely in the nonfiction space. I read Christian nonfiction, but I read non Christian nonfiction.
Yes.
I want to learn about lots of things
Yes.
and then I also read like more technical deep reads in theology and things like that. I kind of ask all my seminary grad friends,
Yes.
give me your top 5 books from seminary. And so I have kind of a running list of people's like most impactful or formative books from their seminary days. And I'm just kind of putting myself through my own little seminary program through their book reads?
Yeah, I
So,
love that. I'm very similar. I always
uh,
have a fiction, a nonfiction, and then something else going on. And usually the something else is like more scholarly stuff that I'm reading for whatever I'm working on,
mm,
writing wise. But
yeah.
anyway, I several years ago started reading fiction again, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot how good this is."
Hmm.
And to your point, I mean, my agent will say you need to be reading genres that are completely different than yours, just to like help with your own voice and word
Hmm.
choice. And but I mean, I just think it's fun. Like I love it.
So
Is it?
fun.
What are you reading right now that you're loving?
East of Eden. First time reading it.
Whoa, whoa,
Yeah, John Steinbeck. It's
whoa!
amazing.
It is.
Have you
That is a.
ever read the book?
I have. I read it
Okay,
probably. I was out of grad school, so I was probably, like, mid-20s, and it was
okay.
really after I went straight from undergrad through grad and took a couple years, and then I was like, "I've gotta get back to reading." You read so much in
Mm,
school, or at least
yeah,
my degrees require me to read so much. Anyway, so it was probably, like, my mid-20s when I read it, and I was like,
yeah,
"Whoa."
yeah. I've never read it. I'm actually listening to this one on Audible, which has been great.
Y
So a lot of
yeah,
my
yeah,
organizing of rooms has been listening to East of Eden. But
yes.
his characters are amazing. I mean, to
Yeah,
me, that's one of the hardest things in fiction to do is to create um, a believable character
uh-huh,
in the story and to develop them over time and all their interactions. I mean, so I'm super impressed. I've kind of dipped my toe into The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell as well.
yes,
So
yeah,
I'm enjoying that. And I've got a handful of other books. It's summer with
yeah,
5 kids.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
don't have a ton of as much reading time as normal, but
right, right.
yes.
Okay, last, like, get to know you question. What if there is such a thing, what does an average Tuesday look like for you? And let's skip summer, like, forget about
Okay.
summer because nothing's average in this summer.
It's like it depends on the season of life. If
Yeah,
it's school time, I'm dropping all my kids off in the morning to various schools. And then I'm doing a lot of writing. So I always have some version of writing commitments in my life. So I'm trying to dedicate those morning hours to any kind of work writing, whether it's writing for teaching, which is its own type of writing, or writing
yeah,
for actual written projects.
yeah,
Usually there's at least one meeting in there somewhere, whether it be with our podcast team or with somebody at our church. I do a lot of local church ministry. Um, and then trying to usually in the afternoon beat down my emails and make dinner. It's like let's take a break and chop some vegetables for dinner before my
Yep.
kids get home so that when I pick them up I can be present with them. And then
Yeah.
the afternoon is full of speech therapy for some of my kids and homework with others and running around playtime and maybe a family walk to,
Yes.
end the day.
Yes.
That would be kind of average.
Have y'all gotten into, like, organized sports and extracurriculars and all that stuff with your kids?
Not really.
Uh-huh.
And that's somewhat intentional. Jimmy and
Yeah.
I together have a lot of ministry that we're involved with, and that's very limiting.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we've had to make decisions over time. How much can our children do or not do? And
Yes.
so we've chosen to let the ministry Jesus has set in front of mom and dad dictate more of the
Mhm.
family life rather than the other way around, looking at kids. And we also have some kids with special needs. We've got 2 kids with hearing loss who have cochlear implants, and so we've got a whole host of therapies in there,
Things. Yep.
and that's more important. So there's
Yeah.
little drips of sports specifically within the school that
Yeah.
they're in,
Yeah.
and that's about it. But we're pretty limiting.
Yeah.
We'd rather, we have 5 family values that we talk about, and one of them is presence. And so we
Mm.
really value time present with one another in
Mhm.
just moments where there's not much going on. And so to value that means there's a lot of no's to a lot of other
Yep.
fun things.
Yep.
But we think that just time spent together on a family walk or at dinner or even just sitting around on the floor playing or talking, playing instruments, it's
Yeah.
like that's more, we're going to just say that's going to take priority over a super busy family schedule. It's
Yeah.
already busy,
Yeah.
let's just, so.
Yes, totally. Yeah, we have not my oldest is not yet 8. He'll turn 8, at the end of this fall, and we have not entered the world of sports, and I didn't really feel the need or the creep of it until just recently, and I feel like it's like everyone's like, "Well, is he doing soccer? Is he doing baseball? Is he doing football?" And, we have
Mhm.
2 boys and a daughter, and yeah, my husband and I are both like, "Let's resist this as long as possible."
Mhm.
Not I mean, we have friends that, like,
Yeah,
they live and they love to live on the baseball field or the soccer
that's
field,
right.
and that's, like, what they do, and actually, my dad was a pastor, my whole life, and so, I mean, a senior pastor, like, they were full on that, but one of my
Mhm.
sisters was an incredible soccer player, and my parents saw that that was one of their ministries, like,
Yep.
being on the sidelines with those families
Yes.
was the primary way, honestly, that they engage with non-believers because my dad
Yeah.
was full-time ministry, like, their world was
Mhm.
the church, was the body of Christ, so I'm not saying that,
Oh, yeah.
every family, you have to make your own choice, but, um, so I'm not trying to vilify organized sports or any of that stuff, like, there
No,
is a
it's a great
purpose and a
ministry.
place and yes,
Just
but
every yes is a no, right?
that's
So
right.
it's like every
That's
yes
right.
you give is a no to something else. You can't have all the things. So
No.
if we're going to be a
No.
family that adopts children with needs and, does a podcast and has church ministry and music, whatever, it's like, then there's a no to some sports. But if you have a
That's
yes
right.
to sports, then there's probably other things you're saying no to. And neither is bad. You just can't do all the things.
That's right.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think organized sports is an amazing ministry opportunity. Anytime you
Yeah.
can get shoulder to shoulder with non-believers in a really organic way
Yeah.
is worth doing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think it's
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeses mean there have to be nos.
Yeah.
So we cannot do it all. Okay, now I have to ask, what are your 5 family values, if you'll share them with us?
Yes. Yeah. Let's make sure that I can remember them all. No. Uh, I did this once and I was like, there's one more. What is it? No.
Listen, I
Uh,
understand.
it's on the little board. Enjoy Jesus is one.
Yes. I love that.
Presence is one. Fun is one. So, as 2 people in ministry, we're realizing making fun a priority is really important because we can be real serious and real like, we're going to disciple you. And
Yeah.
it's like, sometimes our kids just need us to run around with them and jump on the trampoline. So,
Yes.
fun is
Yes.
one of them.
Uh-huh.
Safe place is one of them that we want
Uh-huh.
to cultivate in our home, like for all of our children, that we're trying to train them, make this space a safe place for your siblings
Mm.
and
Mhm.
them for you, that this is a place you can come and be yourself.
Yeah.
And then see where there's another one. Fun.
No,
What did I enjoy Jesus? Fun, presence,
presence,
safe
safe
place,
place.
and
I think you said a 5th.
there's another one. We'll see if I think of it sometime in the rest of this podcast. Oh, teammates. That's the last one. I didn't say it.
Oh.
Teammates is another one that we say. So these are all things that we decided on in a Jimmy sabbatical. We spent some time thinking about it, but we often reference them like it's one of the family values. We're teammates, trying to teach our kids that we operate as an organic unit.
Yeah.
So something big's happening for one kid, like a cochlear implant surgery, right? It's like, all right, we all are going to pull together and be a
Yeah.
support to that. Or this is happening with mom or with dad, or this is happening with this kid. It's like we operate as a team,
Yeah.
and in little ways and in big ways, trying to model that. So
Mm. I
there you go.
love that. Family values are like a motto isn't something that we've really done for our family, which is I think that would surprise a lot of people that know me and my husband really well. They'd be like, "You haven't
Mm.
done." It just that seems very on brand for us. Um, but that inspires me. I'm like, "We've got to do this," and I like the idea. It's like five things probably max of like you just
Yes,
can't
you
remember
can't
more
do
than five
more.
things. Your kids are never going to remember. Well, I say that their memories are crazy compared to ours. What they can
They are.
remember is
It's true.
astonishing. Um, anyway, I love that. Okay,
Uh,
I learned about your book, Purpose Fooled. I always want to say Purpose Fueled. It's like such a every time I have to tell my
I know.
brain, no, it's
I
Purpose
just
Fooled.
invent weird words for book
Listen,
titles.
I love it. It's memorable. I know what it is. I just
Mhm.
have to like tell my mouth to catch up with my brain, you know?
Yes.
Um, I learned about your book. Well, it would have been when it came out. It's like 2 years ago, and it crossed my desk. I produced some other podcasts, and so it had been pitched to me, and I was like, this isn't right for this podcast, but I bookmarked it because I knew someday I was bringing back this podcast no matter what. And I was like, this is my cup of tea. This is my
Mm.
audience's cup of tea. Like, I cannot wait to get into this. So I was so thrilled that when 2 years later, I reached out to your publicist, when I reached out to your publicist, he was like, yeah, Kelly's on board. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. So for my no matter what listeners, Kelly, I told you in the intro, has her hand in so many different things. It is doing a lot. But 2 years ago, a book came out called Purpose Fooled. And I mean, the second I read the synopsis, I was just like, yes, 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 yes. Like, okay,
Mm.
so I guess to back up, something we say in our house a lot to our kids is you were made on purpose for a purpose. And something that I think about in parenting is, and I got this from David Thomas, who is a child development expert,
Mm.
writes a lot about boys specifically, but he talks about how vital it is that our kids, specifically boys, feel like they have purpose. So even a 4-year-old little boy can have purpose in your home. They need to be contributing. They need purpose in your family. Um, so this need for purpose, I believe, is God designed, God
Mhm.
given. It's biblical, but as you write about so incredibly well in this book, our world has completely turned it and I think caused a lot of confusion, a lot of angst, a lot of anxiety, depression. I mean, it's so anyway, I say all of that to really say, Kelly, will you tell us the premise of Purpose Fooled? Why is this so hard for me?
I know.
When you wrote this book, did you know, like, right going in, like, this is the title? Or was this one of these things that you had to, like,
No,
workshop with your editor and agent
I
forever?
actually, workshopped it with a support team that was helping fund the making of the book, and so one of my, partners for that, as we were considering titles, suggested, "What about Purpose Fool?" Like, so with FOOL, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, that's interesting," and so then we changed it to Purpose Fooled, but, that to me, the win of a book title is to get somebody interested and
yeah,
intrigued. It doesn't have to say
yes.
all the things, but if it gets them to pick it up off the shelf or click on it on Amazon, then that to me, it has accomplished the goal that I want that book cover and that book title to do, and so, no, it didn't come at first. The original title when I was hadn't written anything, but it was like, I think this is a book, was Normal Can Change the World. And so that was
Yeah.
written on a little sticky note for a while and on like our desk area. And but I'm happy with this title. It's
Oh,
better.
it's
So
great. It's so great. Okay, so tell us the premise. What's the problem with our obsession with having purpose and meaning?
right. Well, actually I would say, and you said it earlier, I don't think having an obsession with purpose
Mm,
and meaning is necessarily bad. I think it is a God given need and desire. I think that it is but when somebody loses a sense of purpose, it does affect their quality of life. And that's
yeah.
kind of how I open the book is talking about a book that's written, Man's Search for Meaning, many years ago by
Mhm.
a Nazi concentration camp survivor who essentially was noticing as soon as these prisoners lost their sense of purpose and meaning, they died. And the only difference maker between men who lived and men who died was their sense of like, this matters.
Yeah.
This is not. just meaningless suffering. And so I really do think it is essential for us. That's part of our image bearing nature as people being made in the image of God is we need to know our purpose. So I think the
Mm,
deep hunger for that is not wrong. But I do think it's misdirected because the way that the culture points that desire for purpose is it puts us at the center, at the apex
mm,
of that search for meaning. It is self actualization. It is me living to my best potential, highest potential,
yeah.
doing what I feel called to do, what I feel gifted at. And that just isn't a good answer there's many reasons why, but I would say the Bible's answer to that deep ache for meaning and purpose is to put God at the center of that and say,
Mhm.
ultimately, you're made for Him. And there's, of course, things to work out from that. But when we put self at the center of the search for meaning, things don't always go awry right away, but they will eventually. And
Yeah.
there are other problems and symptoms from doing that that aren't helpful.
Something you wrote in your book that I was like, "Golly, that's good. I'm putting that in my back pocket," was that we aren't meant to be the hero of our own story and that I think you supporting role. We are a supporting
Mhm.
role. I don't know if it's just because I've been so much in the world of, like branding and communication, but everything about that is like if you're trying to sell someone anything, the story that you're trying to pitch is you're the hero of your own life and this thing's going to help you be
Yep.
the hero of your own life. And there is truth in that we do have agency of our lives.
Mhm.
God has given us the ability to make decisions and create change and to like we have agency,
Yes.
God-given agency, but I think we've distorted that into thinking, as you put it, we think we're the hero or the main character in our lives
Mhm.
and we're not. We're the supporting role. Kelly, it's so good. Just say more about that.
Yes. Well, I don't ever wanna demonize marketing. It's a really important form of communication to people, right?
Totally,
So I've
totally.
I've definitely read all those books. We're probably referencing the same book, Story Brand, there's
Yeah.
some other great books that are gonna just lean into that. But, when you believe that you are the main character in your own life, it creates a lot of pressure.
Mhm.
And the way that shows up for people is they hit big mile markers in their life. They hit 30 years old, or they even just graduation from high school or college and go, I haven't accomplished anything meaningful. Because if you're the hero, then you better do something heroic and accomplish
Yeah.
something with your life. Or you hit retirement or somebody reflecting back on their life and it looks pretty average or ordinary. It starts to feel like, I think I've wasted my life. But that's not necessarily true. And also, here's one of the problems with thinking this way most of the rest of the world doesn't have the ability to live out some kind of heroic dream. A lot of people are really just fighting to live through
Yeah.
poverty or circumstances they can't control. That's why that's one side symptom that I don't like about our messaging about purpose sometimes is I think it segregates whole parts of
Mm,
humanity on the
mm.
globe and excludes them and essentially we don't mean to do it, but we're subtly communicating that their lives don't have as much purpose and meaning
Yeah.
because they're not able to fight
Right.
for those things, achieve those things, accomplish those things. And of course, we know that's not true. And
Yeah.
so when you think I am the hero. I'm the main character. It just adds a weight on you. I better show something. I better have something to show for that. But when you
Yeah.
know that God is the main character of your narrative, He is the hero. He is heroic. And
Yeah.
I just get to place support to Him, which is I find it really liberating, really
Mm.
freeing. Because then in my average Tuesday, like you asked about, where nothing really exciting happens besides I put a couple hundred words on a page and I made dinner and had conversations with my kids, it's like, well, God is up to something in all those details. I don't
That's
have to
right.
be up to something in all of
Yeah.
that. He is. And I can rest in the fact that he's achieving and accomplishing things. He's moving forward his kingdom on this earth. And if my supporting role today is to just hang around my kids and get a good night's rest so that I'm ready to serve them tomorrow, let
Yeah.
it be. So be it. That's a great role for me to play. And then I get to be a part of something bigger than myself, which
Yeah.
ultimately is more satisfying than being like the sole hero on your solo hero journey. But
Totally.
that's the messaging a lot of us are being sent. And I think that it's creating a weight of pressure that's crushing a lot of people, making them
Mm.
really anxious to achieve things quickly and in notable ways that they can look at and go, okay, I'm doing something meaningful with my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that there are a lot of people out there that do feel like whether it's like you talk about you get turn 30 or you turn 40
Mhm.
and you're like, what have I done? Or I need to
Mhm.
have this impactful, influential life, or just like maybe I don't like my life.
Right.
Um, and sometimes I will say, okay, so this is something that I wrestle with a lot is the difference between selfish ambition and holy
Mm.
discontent. Like I think that, I could look around and it's very easy because I'm a big fat sinner to have selfish ambition, right?
Yes.
Like, I whatever. But sometimes I do think the Lord gives us a holy discontent when
Mhm.
maybe we aren't fully walking in obedience to what he's called us to do. Or maybe our life has actually just become so self centered that we're missing out on the joy of serving others and living a life for God and others. And so we feel discontent because we're not doing those things. But sometimes I think we just think life should be bigger, grander, bigger, better, newer, more because
Mhm.
that's what the world tells us. Like what do you say to that woman? She just turned 30 years old. She's got a husband and 2 kids and she has a part-time job that is whatever and she just kind of
Mhm.
feels like this can't be it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many things to say, but one thing I say a lot is that it's not necessarily that you need an activity shift or a massive life change. You might just
Mhm.
need a perspective shift.
Mhm.
And a lot of those desires, even the ones that you're talking about for ambition, an eagerness to do something great, I still don't think those are wrong desires. If
Mhm.
they were, Jesus wouldn't have responded to his own disciples the way that he does when they're trying to figure out who's going to be the greatest. He does not rebuke them for a desire for greatness. He just redirects their desire and
Mhm.
says, "Let me tell you who's the greatest. Let me kind of set a holy ambition in front of you. Do you
Yeah.
want to be great in my kingdom?" Jesus is interesting in that, and that he has a moment where he's like, "Do you want to know who the greatest is? I'll tell you." He's not like, "You're all great. Participation
Yeah.
award for everybody."
You're also
You know,
special. Here's a trophy.
yay, you did it. He's like, no, there's a sense that Jesus makes that there are people who are greater than others in my kingdom, and all are
Yeah.
welcome who would come in by faith.
Yeah.
But there is a hierarchy of some kind. And there's a type of honoring people's efforts. And he looks at John the Baptist at one
Yeah.
point and says, "He's
Yeah. He's like my cousin.
the greatest who's ever been." But then he says, "But the least of these are even
Yeah.
greater than him," which what he
Wow.
means by that is the orphan, the poor, the widow. So it's like,
Mm.
wait, 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 what? He's just turning it all upside down. Or then later he'll
Yeah.
say, "If you'll be servant and slave to all, you will be
Yeah.
great in my kingdom." Those are the greatest in my kingdom, which tells that was so freeing for me as a new
Mm.
mom because I was feeling a lot of despising of my situation. My husband was on tour, a recording artist, traveling the nation, releasing albums, all of that, people coming to faith at his concerts, and I'm at home with 2 kids in diapers, and
Yeah.
it just did feel like, does this matter? And it was studying Jesus's words to the Pharisees and especially some of these comments he makes about greatness that began to rewrite that narrative for me, my
Mm.
perspective. Go, it's not wrong that I want to chase something great in my life. I
Mhm.
don't need to demonize the desire. I just need to point it in the right direction. And
Yeah.
Jesus tells me if I'll be willing to be a slave to all, which right now I've got a great avenue for practice as I have 2 butts to wipe. I have great practice in slavery to little humans, right? To serve them.
Yeah.
So let me do that because what I want is not greatness in this life. I do want greatness in the next
Yeah.
life. I
Yeah.
want to be at the table of the greats in the new kingdom, in the new heavens and the
Mm.
new earth. And that's not a bad desire. Jesus actually gives that to me as motivation to live
Mm.
rightly in this life. And so the woman who's like, "I want to do all these things and I haven't," I would just say, it's not wrong that you want that. Just want the better thing. Don't want it now. Want it
Mm.
for eternity. And that
Gosh.
comes by way of do it walking that path that Jesus has charted for you and for me, which might mean you look like you've given up a lot in this life and you've lived a pretty average life. But that's not how Jesus sees things. And he will
Yeah.
bring all things to light one day. He says that all things done in secret will be made public. Those secret ways you serve won't always be secret. He will
Wow.
reward you. And that is such a comfort to me. So to me, that is like so much of this conversation is not as much doing different things as much as
Mm.
seeing things differently and going, can I put
Yeah.
the right set of lenses on my eyes today as I look around my life? Am I going to let the world define for me how to view my life and what's meaningful in it? Or will I let God's word and what Jesus has set before me define it so that I do live wisely, so that not living for worldly greatness now and then forsaking eternal greatness later? That's a
Yeah.
terrible trade.
Right.
I don't want that.
Right. 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 I think about when Jesus said, those who pray on the streets to be heard and fast
Mhm.
in a public way, it's like they've gotten their reward.
That's right.
That's it.
There is a
You're
reward,
like,
and they got it right
"Oh,
there.
Lord, I do not want the reward on this side. Can we?" But, I
That's
think it's
right.
so hard for most of us to prioritize eternity, which sounds so
Mm,
stupid when I say that out loud, but we're just so
it's
here,
true.
and we forget that there is I was gonna say a lifetime. I don't It's not a lifetime, it's eternity.
Right.
This life is so short compared
Mhm.
to what dwelling with God in his new heaven and new earth forever is going
Mhm.
to look like. And I think we have such a poor picture. We just think like, oh, you go to heaven and we like worship or we float on clouds or we like
Mhm.
our vision of heaven is so boring and wrong, frankly,
Yes.
that it's so hard for us to live today. I had a Bible study leader who used to always say, you have to live in the temporal in light of the eternal. Every single
Mhm.
thing you do, live in the temporal, live in today. Your feet are on this. You are in a body here on earth on the ground. You got to be here. You got to be
Mhm.
present. But everything you do, if you can do it in light of eternity, the fact that we are going to dwell with God forever, that he has this incredible kingdom and new heaven and new earth that I think we just can barely fathom what that is going to look like. I think it's going to be wilder and better than we could
Mhm.
ever even imagine. Um, but it's really hard
Yeah.
to when you're home alone with two tiny things that
Mhm.
need booties wiped and need to be fed and they
Mhm.
make so much mess in the high chair and it's just like, oh, the mundane day in and
Mhm.
day out grind of life.
Yep. Yeah.
It's gonna be gone like that in
Mhm.
comparison to the rest of life. Something you said earlier made me think of Chuck Swindoll. Actually, I think he was quoting a friend, but he said, "God's greatest work is in the casseroles." And I love that, we just think, I don't know if you make casseroles for your family. I don't, because my children would reject them. Um, but
Pretty much
but
the same over here.
we think, casserole is like so basic. Instead of this, I've been to Michelin star 9-course restaurants. Like that's God's greatest work. It's phenomenal. It's like, no, it's really in the casseroles. It really is in the mundane, everyday, ordinary life that he works in us and through us. And yes, a lot of us do get to have these a Michelin star dinner here
Mhm.
and there throughout life. And those are amazing. And we get to celebrate and
Yep.
thank God and worship him for those things. But it really is grind, or to be more positive, the everyday ordinary.
Mhm.
I do think God does some of his best work.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Sorry, I thought you
Sorry.
did you um
Go on.
it seemed like purposeful. See, why is this so hard for me? It seems like purposeful was really written from a personal experience. Like you got to a point in life where you were like, wait a second, I am believing a lie. I need
Mhm.
to counteract this with God's truth. Will you tell us about that season of life?
Yeah. Well, my wrestle with these ideas and these thoughts really came at the beginning of marriage, which for me was right at the beginning of my 20s. I got engaged on my 20th birthday. We were married 4 months later. And my husband released his first label album about 2 weeks after our wedding. So we went on a
Wow.
honeymoon and then flew to Nashville and did a whole promo tour for that.
Wow.
And I was his road manager, his merch manager. I did all of these things for a couple of years. But, for the first 10 years of our marriage, like that was our main thing was his music,
Yeah.
touring. And so I was thrown early on into this space that was extraordinary, out of the
Mm.
ordinary. Most
Yeah,
people are not doing that. They're not on
totally.
stages.
Right.
They're not singing songs for thousands of people or seeing people come to faith at concerts. That's not happening. And so I'm back there folding t-shirts and training merchandise volunteers at concerts how to work our credit card machine and counting inventory. That's what I'm spending my energy and my effort doing. And here people are coming up to me every night telling me how amazing my husband is and his
Mm.
music's changed my life. And so it created this like, is what I'm doing mattering? Like, does this
Yeah.
matter? That matters. Should I do that more? I want my life to matter. I
Mhm.
think I have things to contribute spiritually more than just the folding of t shirts. So I had this wrestle early on that I don't think many people did. I think nowadays, almost all of us are having that wrestle because of social media. We're
Yep.
seeing people we know, or people we don't know start things. And because of our technology advances since then, any one of us can kind of start a thing. if we want.
Yep.
And that didn't exist back then. So the temptation is there, the outlet is there. We're seeing people do it. And so I think all of us are experiencing that sense of like, I see somebody else doing something important. My day doesn't look important. What's the deal? How is what I'm doing mattering? So like that was kind of the first wrestle with that was then. And then of course, as we started having children and I stopped traveling with him because I was taking care of them and he's still doing that. I mean, that just I was not, my sense of joy and delight in God, delight in the life that I had,
Mm,
contentment was very up and down,
mm,
depending on if I was on the road with him or if I was at home or we were both at home. I dealt with jealousy and envy toward his life and what he was doing. And it really didn't get settled until that season where we had our first two daughters were very close together. They were both young. It was a very physically demanding season of parenthood. And I was home alone a lot because of
sure.
his travel schedule.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to the word and just felt like getting on the wrestling mat with God and through his word going, all right, let's stare this thing down. Expose my heart. What's going on in here?
Mm,
What do you have to say about it? I want to know. And the fruit of many months and probably years of reading and studying and prayer time was a lot of the truths that are in this book. And it was such a the joy, stability, and sense of purpose that began to enter my life just because I didn't discover anything new. It's just, and I hope people reading this book feel that. It's like these are just Bible truths that I'm trying to help you see
mhm.
with fresh eyes. But really taking God at his word in those ways began to so stabilize me and produce such um, joy and sense of purpose in my life that it was many years later I wrote the book, but it did feel like writing this book felt like sharing some of my most precious friends with people. Like these are truths that are
Wow.
my friends that have transformed how I see my life. It has
Mhm.
given me a different vision for what's happening. Like I would have moments when he was on tour as I was in this season of God rewiring my thoughts, where I knew my husband was on stage that night with probably 300 to 400 people in front of him. And here I was training a toddler. I had a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I remember standing in the hallway trying to talk to my oldest daughter about just why she couldn't be mean to her sister. And I'm having this moment. I had this kind of picture in my head of I'm just talking to one, not 400, but this one will interact with thousands in her life.
Mm,
And so, though no one else sees this moment, it's just me and the Lord. I'm doing this for him and with him. It's just to this one life.
yep,
This one life will impact many,
yep,
many others.
yep.
And so it just depends on how I see the moment and thinking about kind of shaping even my imagination in those moments. I think was really key to let
Mm,
the way I think and imagine my world, letting it be informed by the way the scriptures encourages me to use my imagination that way
yes. Yeah.
really freed me because you do need to know that what you're doing matters. I do think it's an essential need. I need
Yeah.
to know why laundry matters. If I
Yeah.
don't, I will despise it
Never
every
do it.
single time I do it. I will be mad. I will be frustrated, right? It's like, I need to know why it matters. And I
Yeah.
need to know that it's seen and I need to
Yeah.
know that it will be rewarded. Like all of those things, I think are legitimate. I think the
Yeah.
Bible speaks to them. Jesus
Yeah.
says, go pray in secret where your Father who sees
Yeah.
is and will reward you. He's saying live for an audience. Just don't live for the social media audience. There's
Totally.
another watching person, and it is right to want to be seen. It's an
Yeah.
okay desire to be alone in your house and go, I wish somebody saw the work I'm doing. Someone is. And if you will live for that one audience, it will be rewarded in a bigger way than just
Yeah.
the temporary rewards you would get here. And I needed all that rewiring. And
Yeah.
in some ways, I felt so freed from needing to do anything else
Mm.
that it was actually a really hard decision to write the book because writing is really hard,
You're like, wait,
and
that
I
goes
didn't
back to
want
being
to.
public.
I know. So I really was like, I don't,
No,
Lord,
Kelly, listen,
one day.
it is so good. This book, it's okay. So sorry to interrupt you. I, for years, gave out Kevin DeYoung's book on, it's like how to figure out what to do with your life or
Just do
something about
something.
God. Yes, just do something. Yes.
I love that
I
book.
gave
Yeah.
that book out to every high school
Mm.
and college graduating senior. That was like my book. And then actually like 7 years ago, I wrote a book for college girls. So that became my like high school grad gift to
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
But Kevin DeYoung, I mean, still to this day,
That's
I will
great.
buy it in bulk and hand it out. And after I haven't totally finished your book, I'm a little over probably 60%. And I am going to finish it. And then I'm going to go back and read it more
Yeah.
slowly because I was reading it quickly to prepare for our conversation. But I was like, "Oh, this is my new book." Like,
Mm.
like this book is so, so good. So thank
Mm.
you for writing it because truly it is like I'm like,
Um,
I mean, I thought of 3 girls that I've mentored since they were teenagers and now they're like in their 20s and 30s. I'm like, "Oh, I'm mailing a copy to each
mm.
one of them this week." So sorry to interrupt, but I'm
No.
so glad that
Well,
you
it's
finally, or
community.
not finally, but that you did it.
It was the Lord's timing through community. My husband, a counselor. I went to a counselor and was like, "Here's my life, and here's all the reasons why I shouldn't do this right now." And he asked me a series of other questions that was like confronting me with, "I think he's putting it on your heart to do right now. Maybe just get creative about how you write it." And I was like, "Darn, why can't you just leave me alone?" No, I'm glad that it came out when it did. But it is interesting that his timing. It just felt like his timing. But I did even feel like the the urgency I felt maybe in my 20s to create content and do that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Really because of the good work of the truth of God's word that I'm sharing in this book, I felt really settled, which,
Mm,
I make this point kind of near the end of the book, so you might not be there yet. But I think the fruit of placing your purpose in a person, in God,
mm,
not in a
mhm,
task,
mhm,
is actually the thing that motivates more and harder work
mm,
because I no longer need the work to do anything for me. I don't need to write books and I don't need them to be successful to have a sense of significance. My sense of significance is now coming from everything I do, I'm doing with Jesus and I'm doing for Jesus, and he
mm.
sees it. And so whether I'm speaking on a stage or scrubbing dirt out of a pan at home, I'm
Yep.
doing them both with excellence for the one set of eyes that sees my heart motive and
Yep.
says he'll reward me. And that makes everything amazing. And it actually is motivating. It motivates, I think, harder work for longer in the believer. It doesn't
Mhm.
do the opposite. I think we need to find our significance in the work to really work hard. I think that
Yeah.
actually drains us
Yeah.
because then when the work is not going well and it feels like an uphill climb, we get tired of it. But if
Yep.
we know that this is what the Lord set in front of us to do, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, I get to
Right.
do this for you, whether it's a good outcome or a bad one today, Lord, because you are who I live for. I was made for you, not for
Yep.
this task. And that also means if everybody rejects it, or I lose my ability to write one day, or I get sick, or one of my
That's
kids get
right.
sick, I'm not thrown. It's like, okay,
Yep.
I might grieve that, but there's a new set of tasks you're setting in front of me. And my purpose has not changed. I still live for you.
That's right.
I'm no longer attached to these things in that same way. And it's liberating and motivating all at the same time.
Yep. Yep. That's right. I grew up always hearing my dad say, God cares way more about your faithfulness than your
Hmm.
influence,
That's
or
right.
just like focus on your faithfulness, not your influence. And when I wrote my
Yep.
first book, I by God's grace was very freed of I just was like, I'm just being obedient. I fully believe he has given me the experience and the whatever to write this book. This is the book for college girls. Um, and if God wants to sell 100,000 copies or 100 copies, it's literally up to
That's
him.
right.
Like I was
That's
so
right.
freed. I will say going into the second book, it's been harder for me,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Like, and I keep having to go, nope, I'm
Mm-hmm.
being obedient. He gets to decide what success looks like. And if success is just the fact that I obeyed and I
That's right.
put in the hours and the labor and the studying and the praying and the blood, sweat, and tears from, by the way, everything he gave me,
That's right.
like then again, that's success. If it sells 1 copy or 1 million copies, doesn't it
That's
literally
right.
doesn't matter. But that is
Mm-hmm.
so counter, not just counter our world, that's counter the publishing industry, right? Like my
Yep.
publisher wants it to sell
Yeah.
100,000 copies. Like that is what they want. And so just constantly having to come back to you, nope, Lord,
Mm-hmm.
I will do my best. I will put my best effort in doing what my publisher asks and, all of that. And I believe this book will help women and change
Mm-hmm.
women's lives. And yet, if God only wanted it to change mine,
Yep.
then
Yes.
that's it.
Amen. Let it be.
But
Yeah.
it's hard, girl.
It's hard.
It is
Well,
hard.
yeah, one thing that has helped me too in that same journey is thinking about John 15:5, which is a
Yep.
favorite verse,
Mine
but
too. Mine
where
too.
Jesus talks about apart from me you can do nothing.
That's right.
And I talk about that in one of the chapters of the book, but that if that verse is true, then that means there's a lot of really lovely looking nothing out there. That there are huge numbers, huge book sales,
Yep.
amazing organizations, buildings and structures that are being put up that in the final analysis before Jesus, he's going to look at and say, it's like dust, blow it
Yeah.
away. It's
Totally.
nothing. It's air. Didn't do squat. It's nothing.
Right.
And then there are other things that will look very, very meek and small and kind of like dingy and like what's not really significant that we're going to
Yep.
then see before him is actually really weighty
Mm.
and really significant in his
Yeah.
kingdom. So it's just it's a different way of looking at life.
Yep.
And we do have to be careful about what is shaping our thoughts and our perspective. And if we're not intentional about being in the word regularly and even giving ourselves quiet space to reflect and
Mm.
pause and get outside and remember the world's bigger than our own little house in life, we will be discipled by our culture through the
Yep.
things that we're taking in every day, all the time.
That's right.
And we just have to be really careful about that because something is shaping you and forming you. What you're
Mm.
taking in is telling you how to think about your life. And you just have to be really careful to take back your imagination and go, no, I need to think this way. I need to pause and ask myself, what is it if when the Lord is looking from heaven at the earth, which it's clear that he does that, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Who is he impressed with? So that is such a helpful thought for me. So sometimes when we're all the same. We all have the same sinful nature. We all get on social media and we see somebody's life and ministry that's like doing really well or they're whatever. And we want that and we're eager for that or we're envious of
Mm.
that or we're discontent with our own lives. That's been a helpful thought. All right, Jesus, when
Yeah.
you look down, who are you impressed with? And I'll just think on that. Like, of course, I don't know the answer, but it is helpful to ponder and go, is you might be impressed with this person I'm seeing online. You might not be. I don't know their
I don't know.
heart.
Yeah.
You know their heart. There might be other people that aren't impressive at all. That when I walk into my church, sometimes I ask that, "Lord, who there are people in here that you're probably like, oh, that woman right there, that man right there. That's amazing." And we just don't
Yeah.
know. And it's like
Yeah.
that's what I wanna live for is for that. It's a really clarifying question
Mm.
for me. If I
Yeah.
wanna live, it's just, again, recalibrating. I wanna live for the right set of eyes. I wanna live for his eyes and the
Yep.
the watching eyes of the heavenly hosts, which makes it clear that those things are happening, right? It's like, I wanna live for that, not for people. Because
Yeah.
again, like the verse you quoted earlier, it's like, yeah, you can live for that, and that will be your reward, the end. Like, then that's it.
Okay.
It's like, okay,
Womp womp.
well, it's a type of reward, but the implication is it's like a shot of sugar rush or something that's like, yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
fun for a
A
second. It's
second.
not it's not the sustenance and
That's
the
right.
type of reward that is lasting
That's
and that
right.
you when you're there, you're gonna regret living for that reward. It's like, I don't want that
Mm.
regret. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I could talk to you all day, but I will land on just one final question. Since I ask the
great.
same question with every podcast episode, and that is just what's one thing right now that the Lord is teaching you that's either stretching you or surprising you?
Mm. One thing that's stretching me, there's so many things that are stretching me. Goodness. I feel like I'm learning a new layer. We're in a new layer of learning when it comes to dependency on the Lord.
Mm.
So that's both wonderful and hard.
Yes, it is.
So there's a lot of just circumstances in life that are a lot and overwhelming and stretching. And this is a little filterless, but like I feel like I have a pretty big plate size and in my
Yeah.
own strength and self-sufficiency, I can handle quite a few things
Yeah.
without relying on him. Now, he could strip that from me. That's not go me. That's just the Lord did that, right? And how he wired me or
Yeah.
made me. That's fine. He can give that and take that away. But just
Yeah.
with the types of things in my life, the ages of my kids, the things going on in our church, um, my husband's a pastor and elder there, so there's a lot of weighty things going on that we're
Yeah.
walking in, and just a lot of things that I'm waking up most days going to sleep most days. Very I told a friend, I feel like I'm waking up and this sounds funny to say, but like looking for Jesus like my kids would look for their little lovey blanket. Like, okay, wait. Where, Lord? Okay, he's always with me.
Yes.
But like this clinging daily to
Yeah.
like,
This desperate
Jesus,
need.
right
Yes.
now, need your help with this. I need your help with this, like all through the day. And so that feels feels like a type of boot camp training with him right now
Mm.
that is good and stretching in some new ways that I don't always my prayer time with him and ways that I'm talking with him is way less I have these wonderful 2 hours in the morning, which was a season of my life when my kids were a little
Yes.
younger,
Yes.
and then maybe not thinking about him the rest of the day, you know? It's like
Yes.
we are moment by moment in the car and at home and on the floor in the kitchen or in my closet, just like, "Oh, here are the things, Lord, and I need to talk to you about them, and I need your help." So,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Dependence is a really good thing. That's I think growth and maturity in the kingdom of God is
I
growing in
do too.
dependence on him. So,
I do too. I think it was the same Bible study leader that would talk about living in the temporal and light of the eternal. I remember one time she was like, "What does spiritual maturity look like as you grow in age?" And I'm like, in my mind, it's like you're living better. Like the Christian life is
mm,
easier, obedience is easier. There's more fruit, But
mhm,
really, I realized like, oh, my vision is like I wouldn't have articulated it, but it is almost like I can do it by myself. The greater that I progress in spiritual maturity means I'm grown up. And I think actually write about this in my book. It's like we have this analogy of, well, it's not an analogy. God is our father. And so
mhm,
we think about us as God's children,
right.
and then we apply the lens we have as earthly parents. My job is to
Mhm,
launch independent adults who don't
yeah,
need me. That's the
mhm,
goal. Now, that's not always possible based sometimes on special needs and other things going on, but like when we
mhm,
define what typical or average or normal success or whatever looks like, it's like you want to launch a child who no longer needs you and they can live independently without you. That is not God's design for us.
right.
God's design as the good father is that we only become more and more desperately
Uh-huh.
dependent on him. And it was like such a backwards, like I'm like, oh, it's not that I can walk uprightly straight on my own and I don't trip a lot. It's actually that I'm like clinging onto the leg of God the Father.
Mhm,
Like my 2-year-old will like sit on my shoe, as I'm like
mhm,
walking through the house. Like that's actually what greater spiritual maturity looks
that's
like.
right.
And there might be fruit there, I mean, I do think there's fruit as we cling to
Yes.
the Lord, as we abide. But I don't think that's the indicator. I think the indicator is our deep awareness of our need for Jesus and our just like moment by moment clinging to him, knowing like, I can't
Mhm,
do this. I cannot
yeah,
do anything apart from you. What you just said, we can do
mhm,
nothing apart from
nothing.
Christ.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a
sorry.
total backwards journey, right?
It's,
It's we
it's,
come into his kingdom like confident adults. "I'm good.
yes,
Just need your help here, here, and here, and then we'll be good."
yes.
And
We
the
become
growth
babies.
is yes, is the opposite, which is why he says, "The greatest shall be like this child,"
That's right.
like children. So he, talks about that backward journey,
Wow.
but it is kind of, it's anti-American, it's
Yeah.
countercultural
Well, that's a
to
lot of
go,
Jesus. He
Yes,
flips everything upside down.
that's right.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on no
Mhm.
matter what. I will have to have you on again when your
Would
Bible
love
study
that.
comes out so that we can talk about it. I know no matter what people they're going to want to know about it. So,
I would love
thanks for
that.
being here.
Thanks, Hannah.
Okay, my super cool party people, you know what I need you to do. I need you to like, comment, review, share, subscribe. Tell your dog about the podcast. I really believe this episode and future episodes and past episodes will help other people. All I want to do is encourage y'all to be who God created you to be, to live faithfully for Jesus, to walk with him in your everyday life, no matter what is going on. And so, if this podcast or if this episode did that for you, would you please help get the word out? You guys are the very best. I'll see you next week.